Welcome back to the Kids Ministry and Leadership Podcast from KidMin Collective. Monthly episodes featuring leading global KidMin voices, real stories, and practical leadership tools. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Kids Ministry and Leadership Podcast. I'm Andy Kirk, and today I've got my good friend Beth Cunningham with me, as well as my other good friend, Larry Kramer. Here he is. It's good to be with you guys.
Love it.
I love that we start with good friends because I really do mean that.
I really are good friends.
Today we started with effective communication. That's what we're going to be talking about today, all around communication. We're going to dive into it around teams, but really it comes out of this space of relationship. I remember when I met each of you, it was both at a conference or a round table, and then I'm like, hey, can I reach out and just talk about some stuff? And then the relationship grows, and then we start to talk a bit more, and then we hang out, then we go to Disney, that's it, but the truth is that relationship grows, and I would think about communication this way, that it's so important as we talk about leadership and as we talk about marriage or every which area, that this just visual, I'll try and see this, and if you're not, if you're listening rather than watching, imagine one line at the bottom, and it's expectation. That's the base level on which we're really hoping for, and a line above it, and that's the line of communication, and it moves, and that gap in between is called frustration, and really the way that we communicate, whether effectively or not very well, creates this frustration within us, within our relationship. When I say that, I think it really boils down to trust. Let's say, Larry, what would you say around, as we dive into this communication topic, how would you describe that element of our communication around that trust within the relationship?
Yeah, that's good. And honestly, I think we've all been frustrated in communication. Well, we'll get in that later. Yeah, but no, when you think about trust, I boil it down to a couple things for me with trust. And first is you got to build relationships with people.
Yeah.
I think about the friends that I have now, or any way that I'm going to communicate with someone. If I know you, you're going to listen more.
Right.
If I don't know you, you might look at it and you might not. And so I think relationship building's huge. I think we got to be clear in our communication. As clear as we think we are, we have to be more clear.
That's true.
And so I think we have to be really clear. And the last, I think we have to be transparent.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to be known. They want to be heard, but they want to know how you are too.
Yes.
And so when I'm transparent, I'm telling them, look, I'm struggling with this, but we're going to have a conversation with it. Or I'm just having a bad week. It's I need to communicate this out to you. Or, hey, I understand what you're going through, but let's have a conversation about this. Yeah. And so I think when we're able to be very transparent and clear with our message, when it all starts with building relationships to gain that trust with them.
That's a good point, because I think as we start to listen to this, and you might be listening to it as a children's pastor or a leader leading over teams, we think that this expectation is just you expecting from who you're communicating to. But there's actually an expectation coming back the other way. I know for me, not only do I lead teams, but I serve leaders as well, and we all do. I have an expectation going up. Your leaders have an expectation of you, and it could be an expectation of pastoring you, an expectation of investing or imparting into you. So it's not just an expectation of getting tasks done. Yeah. When it comes around communication, it's just not communicating tasks. That would be the lowest form. It really is communicating to build the relationship in order that we can go on this mission together. That's really where I think of when it comes to effective communication. I want to be on mission with you two.
Right.
I want to help communicate. What can we do? So Beth, what do you think in this space?
I mean, when I think about communication, I think it's at the heart, it's a person's desire to know and be known. If you think about intimacy.
Yes.
Right? And communication is one of the highest ways that we ask for that in humanity, right? Intimacy. I mean, I want to know you. I want to understand. I want you to know me. I want you to understand me. And so I think it's really important when you're leading teams to really understand the person that you're talking to, because you know what? Some people really do just want a list. Someone else really needs a lot of encouragement.
Yes.
Another person really needs a lot of like direct clarity. And I find that it's not a one size fits all, because that into me see, right? And that's what's challenging about being a leader sometimes, is that, you can send out, I always think, know what to say when and how to say it. So some things are great in an email.
Yeah.
And some things only need a one-on-one conversation. And the ability to know which card to play is one of the greatest skills we can ever get when we're leading a team.
Do you think we can over communicate?
100%.
Because it's like, okay, well, I'm the leader and
Because everything I have to say is so important. And let me just say it to you like 10 times.
And why didn't you hear it?
And why didn't you read the email, Beth? What's wrong
well,
with
it was
you?
bold and underlined, and I was like,
Okay, for all of our friends, I missed massive communication from Andy this week in the space of transparency. But let me just say,
Yes.
okay, this is what happens. And I think we need to understand this when we're leading, especially in kids ministry. I think about the person who serves on our teams. I think they have full-time jobs.
Yes.
Some of them are raising children in their home. They have health issues. They have a lot of great things. They went on vacation, or their mom is got cancer. Like all of the things, good and bad, they're navigating life, and they show up to serve. And I've sent them I've sent them 4 emails, a group me, a text, frustrated. They didn't respond to planning center.
yes.
Yep.
And sometimes we do have to step back and ask ourselves, are we saying so much that they miss the main thing? It's a fair thing to consider in leadership and in communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a quick story on that.
Yeah.
So I have 2 girls. One's in high school, one's in college. And there's a lot of communication that happens from schools. So even as my girls were growing up, I'm getting communication through email and text from schools. They're in sports and I'm getting stuff from their coaches. I'm downloading apps of different apps that these coaches and schools want me to download. And then on top of that, right, I'm a kids pastor at the church. We're also getting emails from the church about things that are happening. I'm getting text messages about what my kids learned that week, right? And it's all great stuff. Well, no lie. I literally turned everything off.
Full notifications.
And I'm like, I'm done. I can't do it. Like, it just was so much information that it really became white noise to a point that I can't even listen to this anymore. And so, yeah, that's the bad side.
And the principle is real. The principle is called information overload.
Yeah.
And I think anything in communication would say most of us don't learn something until we really need to know it. So the trick of being great of leadership and communication is finding ways to communicate things in the right way when your people need to know it, because that's when they're most eager to learn or listen to what you have
And
to
our
say.
approach,
our approach
to that
Totally.
really matters. There's a book called Smart Brevity.
Right.
If you've ever read that, and if you haven't, I would suggest to read it. But it just talks about the way we communicate, and if we think we're very simple in our communication, we're not. So simplify it,
Yes.
because we want to get all this information out, and really all the parent needs is 1 or 2 words, or all our staff needs is 1 and 2 words. But yet we need to give them everything so we can explain it to them, also so we can understand what we're explaining to them.
Totally.
I think for years I've taught that, the line, the expectation, the moving communication. Even as I'm sitting here, I'm going to change it. If I teach it ever again, in fact, I'm going to edit it on the fly right now.
Okay.
It's effective communication needs to slide.
Yeah.
Because I'm just thinking from what you guys are saying that even as if we over communicate, that's still causing frustration. The more and more emails I saw all these notifications, it was actually widening the gap of frustration rather than closing it when we think we're putting more and more out there. But yet on the other end of the spectrum here, I heard a story just the other day. You're both going to be shocked. I don't think we even told you this yet, about a pastor who had all of his team and his staff, and he scheduled through an AI, bot or whatever it was, a generator.
Otters following you, listening.
It was an auto email to send out. And so he put in the staff's profiles, and they would just get this email that would send it, "Hey, Larry, I'm just so proud of you at the moment, man. Been praying for you and Jen and the girls." And these leaders were getting it, and they were thinking, wow, he just took the time to send me this email. So this pastor was telling me this as if he is just rewrote the code of how to lead teams. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure if I do that. And he goes, what? He was almost shocked. And I said, that just wasn't authentic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that you were saying before how you feel it, and I think that communication can't just be that I know enough about things to put into a AI generator.
Yeah.
So connect with team, tick.
Right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I think it has to start from that place of us first being known by God, and then we are leading our teams. Why? Because we're seeing into them, as you said, and we're bringing them to this place of where they could step into their calling, what God's got for them. And so really, we end up getting so overwhelmed with things that we reduce communication down to just passing on
Information.
facts or content or
Yeah.
information. And so I think it needs to start with the the touch points,
Yeah.
and then, like you said, simplify to what we kids send out. So we definitely could go too much, and then you can definitely abdicate your responsibility and get an AI to do it. No, seriously.
No, it is over there. And you think about the Gen Alpha, that is all they're living in right now. It's all they know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that. And
Will they ever compose
communicating.
their own letter? You know what I mean? Like, will chat do it for them?
Right? Right? I mean, we talk about, and sorry,
No.
I know you're ready to leave, but we're talking about AI and we're talking about ChatGPT. And again, my two daughters can throw every schoolwork. They can throw everything. How to write a note to someone and care, like make it personal and care about them. And they didn't think about any of this. Chat just created. I'm not saying that they have done that, but like, listen, that's how they're doing schoolwork. Yeah. Literally, the Gen Alpha and parents are starting to
Yeah.
bring this into their own life. Is how personal are we? How authentic are we when we're just using AI to communicate?
Oh, okay. Can I just throw in one thing about communication? Because I think a lot of times as leaders, we think communication is our words,
Yes.
but so much of communication is nonverbal.
Yes.
And I have been so challenged in this, especially on Sundays. Like, communication is presence, communication is body language, communication is this.
Yes.
I will never forget. One day I had a really long Sunday at Highlands. I had been 2 hours south to one of our locations. So I'd gotten up at like 6 in the morning, gone into all morning services, driving back to Birmingham and rolling into PM services at our broadcast location. Shout out, people, you met at long Sundays. And I walk into our kindergarten environment, and it's about 45 minutes for the service. There's some volunteer kids there and a young man who's known me his whole life. Like, parents are our best friends, helped raise this kid. He comes up to me, he's like, "What is wrong?" Distraught look on his face.
Yeah.
I said, Kyle, I'm fine. What do you mean, what is wrong? He said, "You walked in the room and you weren't smiling."
Oh, wow.
And I learned such a valuable lesson about communication as a leader that day,
Yeah.
because I'm a naturally smiley person.
Yes.
I stepped in the room, because I was just tired. There was nothing wrong. I brought down the room,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So, like, pastor your face, Beth. You know what I'm saying? Like, but AI can never do that. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the thing that we bring as leaders to our team, is the presence, the seeing, the smile, the knowing, or this anyway.
Well, you talk about nonverbal, and there's so many cues that we give out. There's a great book called Cues
Yep.
by Vanessa Van Edwards. Phenomenal, talking about just different cues with our hands, with our face. And you spoke brilliantly to it, is that communication is not just verbal. It is nonverbal.
Yes. Yes. I had very similar story walking in, and to someone, they asked the same thing, literally almost identical. And so then he joked, he's a bit of a funny guy, and he goes, "If you're happy and you know it," and I go, "No," he goes, "Tell your face." And I go, and I sat there. From then on, I would sneak into church,
Yeah.
and I would get out of my car and I would sing in my head, "If you're happy and you know it, tell your face." And I'd get out of my car and I'd smile. It was just this little thing because you're communicating so much, like you said.
But
Totally.
they can also know when you're fake.
I say, and to not be
So, what do you mean?
it's just authentic, right? Yeah, because you don't want to be inauthentic at the same time.
Yeah.
Leaders have to be leaders, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We've sort of covered a whole lot around, the expectation. It's built on relationship. It's built on trust. We've had to dig into areas of, the non-verbals. But just for our leaders who are watching here and maybe listening today, let's dive into some communication that they may be encountering in a functional or practical way in their leadership. And so that's a good place to start with us and you, and not using, AI and chat to send your encouragements. But what are some practical ways in leading our teams where it's not too much, but it's effective, that you've found in both leading in your, big world in church and also yours, Larry? So please, either one.
I mean, I think one of my favorite communication techniques is the power of the sandwich.
Yes.
The sandwiches that helped me so many times. I know in kids ministry, a lot of times we have to have difficult conversations. You're trying to develop team, often the young team. You're coaching a lot of people, and I love the sandwich. The sandwich is, I am going to start by encouraging you. This is something you're doing really, really well.
Well, yeah.
And then I'm going to ask you the question, what do you think you could do better? And that is so great, because a lot of times I find when you're trying to coach or grow people, or you're having what you think is going to be a difficult conversation, so many times if we just ask the right open-ended conversation, they will self-identify.
Yes.
Right? You don't have to identify for. Then you get to celebrate them sandwich again.
Yes.
Because they were so wise, they picked up on the growth area. So like I love the power of question when coaching team. Like, let me encourage you. Thank you. You did so great.
Yeah.
Tell me, what do you think? What do you think could have gone better? What do you think? And I just think questions in that sandwich. Now it's celebrate. We get to have a challenging moment, but we gave them autonomy to own that. And then we get to celebrate that we saw it together. And I think that's one of my favorite communication techniques with team.
Yeah, that's so good. Only thing I would really add to that, because that's an amazing way to do it, is I would just go clarity is kindness.
100%.
And a lot of times when we go into any conversation, especially if it's a tough conversation, we want to kind of beat around the bush, or we don't want to say exactly what we want to say. And where I'm going in clarity is kindness is, it's kind to the person to help them get better.
Yes.
Help them maybe know what's going wrong, or at the same time, we're being clear on the expectations. There's a lot of times we're in conversations that we're not giving clear expectations on what we need to be doing. And so that's a shift of tough conversations. I think on the side of the sandwich is, at the same time in communicating, celebrate wins.
Yes.
Celebrate with families, celebrate with your volunteers, celebrate as staff. And I'm speaking to myself, guys, I'm really speaking to myself, I'm running a mile a minute, and the only thing I'm looking for is how to keep moving forward instead of celebrating what we just did. And so I think we need to communicate the win.
And I think the Bible is so clear to that. The scripture tells us that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony. And I think having a team that we trained to see and hear and share stories is one of the greatest things you can do for culture. And that doesn't happen without great communication happening.
Yep. Yeah. I'd also add to both of that. I echo all of that, but probably the way you start, in particular in leadership, how you start is really important. And what I mean by that is, I remember years ago as my first church, I was walking around the children's ministry area and walking through the different environments. And I looked outside, we had a basketball court. There's this guy, Nathan, and he's out there playing basketball, having so much fun. And I was doing so much. And I looked at him like, man, I hate Nathan.
He needs to come pick up some trash.
But I used to be Nathan, where I could have fun, and now he's out there, the kids love him, and I with all the responsibility. And I realized that this whole thing was, I was holding him to account to something that I hadn't even communicated. But what do I want him to do? And and I'm talking my very, very first church, it taught me how to build out an effective orientation and team guide. So that they do know to download the WhatsApp. Like if I haven't told them to download, and that's how we'll communicate, and then I'm pinging out all these WhatsApp, and then I'm going, why aren't they? Well, I didn't start it well. And so I'd say the way that we start the whole relationship and start with our team. So my team guide, what I was even saying before, was what you can expect from me, but what I'm going to expect from you. And this is how you'll communicate. This is how it was. And what I find is, when it comes to the communication, when you set it up well and then you're doing it, to your point, it makes it an easier conversation when they're not doing the things.
Right.
To bring it back to, did you did you know that we used WhatsApp? I mean, when we orientated, it was there. Oh, that's right. I did know that. I haven't downloaded it yet. Oh, that's going to be really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can bring it back that you don't have to then go and tell Nathan, why are you just doing that and not helping? I never knew I had to.
Yeah.
No, it's so good. One of our greatest thoughts that we think about when communication to team is we not always respect people by explaining the why.
Right.
I always tell leaders, like, whenever possible, you're not going to always be able to give every why to everything.
Yep.
But whenever you can, you add so much value, so much respect to the person when you explain to them not just what we do, but why we do it. Because when I understand why, that changes everything about how I see what you're asking you to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And one last thing I would say is communication is also about listening. And so being able to get feedback, you know, you talk about the apps, you talk about emails, you talk about everything that we're wanting to communicate.
Yeah.
It might not be effective because we're not asking the people to give us feedback on what we're wanting to do.
Yes.
And so we definitely have to listen to people to be able to communicate clearly.
That's brilliant. Well, we're going to finish there. And I've learned a whole lot more that when I want to, you know, get some friends together around a podcast, I'll email it, send a WhatsApp.
It was me. I'm the problem.
I'll send a pigeon. I don't know. It's all good. We've had a fun time here today talking about effective communication. And in the show notes, we're going to put in some of those resources, different books that were even mentioned. And we're not going to put in the AI one because you shouldn't be doing that. But we do look forward to having you with us next month on the Kids Ministry and Leadership Podcast.